Lewis Hamilton left Belgium with a 5-second penalty, a collision that ended George Russell's race, a Ferrari mechanic struck during a chaotic pit stop, and a 45-point gap to Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Yet his most brutal admission was not about the crash, the stewards, or the championship. Hamilton said Ferrari had taken one step forward with the engine, but not the whole step. That single sentence exposed the real problem. Ferrari finally had enough speed to fight near the front, but penalties, setup mistakes, pit lane chaos, and poor execution kept destroying the progress. And unless that changes immediately, Hamilton's 8th title dream could disappear before Ferrari's improved engine ever gets the chance to save it. Subscribe to the channel. Before Hamilton's words can be understood, the entire Belgian weekend has to be separated into two very different stories. One story was about progress. The other was about everything Ferrari did to damage that progress. That is the contradiction sitting at the center of Hamilton's admission. Ferrari had improved the engine. The car was competitive enough to fight close to the front. Hamilton still moved into second place in the championship. And yet the weekend became defined by contact, penalties, procedural mistakes, pit lane danger, and another investigation. That is what made his response so revealing. He was not speaking after a race where Ferrari simply lacked speed. He was speaking after a race where the team had enough performance to create a real opportunity, then surrounded that opportunity with chaos. And for a driver chasing an 8th world championship, that is far more painful than driving a slow car. When a car is clearly slow, the problem is simple. Find more power, create more grip, improve the aerodynamics, reduce the gap. Everyone inside the team understands a target. But when the car is fast enough and the result still falls apart, the problem becomes harder to solve. Because the weakness may not exist in one component. It may exist in the connection between every department. The engineers can deliver an improvement. The race team still has to use it. The strategists can create an opportunity. The pit crew still has to execute it. The driver can have the pace. The setup still has to give him confidence. And the team can do almost everything correctly, then lose the reward through one moment of poor control. That is what Ferrari looked like in Belgium. Fast enough to threaten, not controlled enough to convert. The warning signs appeared before the race even began. After the first practice session, Ferrari electronically returned 2 sets of dry weather tires. But the physical tires were not delivered back to the official supplier before the next session started. The team received a €10,000 fine. 5,000 for Hamilton's car, 5,000 for Charles Leclerc's. This did not make the Ferrari faster. It did not provide a hidden advantage. It was a procedural breach. But that is exactly why it mattered. Championship teams are built on procedures nobody notices. Tires returned at the correct time. Components recorded accurately. Cars released safely. Radio instructions delivered clearly. Pit equipment positioned perfectly. Most of this work never reaches the audience because the best teams complete it without error. When one small process fails, the result may only be a fine. When several processes fail during the same period, a pattern begins to appear. And Ferrari could not afford that pattern. The team was already under pressure from the previous races. After Austria, Hamilton had spoken openly about Ferrari's drop in performance. Then at Silverstone, he said his magic had disappeared. That phrase sounded emotional because it described more than a poor lap. It described a loss of connection with the car. Hamilton believed his front wing setup had not been optimized as effectively as Leclerc's. That may sound like one small technical choice. In Formula One, it can change the driver's entire relationship with the car. The front wing helps determine how the car begins to turn. It affects the balance. It changes how confidently the driver can attack the first phase of a corner. Imagine trying to open a heavy door. When the hinges move together, the action feels natural. You push, and the door follows. But when one hinge resists, you begin forcing the movement. You hesitate. You make corrections. And every correction destroys confidence. That is what an uncertain front end can feel like at Formula One speed. The driver still turns the car. The corner is still completed. But the trust needed to attack the absolute limit begins to disappear. Hamilton's comment about losing his magic was not an admission that his ability had vanished. It was a warning that the car was not giving him the platform needed to express that ability. And because Leclerc appeared more comfortable, every difference became magnified. 2 Ferrari drivers, the same basic machine, different confidence, different results. From outside the garage, the comparison looked simple. One driver was extracting more. Inside the team, the explanation could involve front-wing choices, tire preparation, aerodynamic balance, braking feel, and the exact response Hamilton needed from the car. That is why changing teams is never as simple as changing colors. Hamilton had spent years learning the language of Mercedes. He understood how the engineers described balance. He knew how the car reacted to certain adjustments. He knew what feedback would produce the change he wanted. At Ferrari, all of that had to be rebuilt. The steering felt different. The braking response felt different. The power delivery felt different. The communication process was different. Even the way the team interpreted one sentence from the driver could be different. That adaptation already required patience. Repeated mistakes made it harder. Silverstone added another layer of pressure. Hamilton received a 5-second penalty for a false start. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur defended him. He said the team sensors did not show the car moving, even though video footage appeared to show a movement of only a few millimeters. Vasseur called the punishment harsh. That defense showed Ferrari protecting its driver. But it also meant another race had been shaped by a penalty instead of pure performance. A movement measured in millimeters. A consequence measured in seconds. That is the brutal scale of Formula One. The initial mistake can be tiny. The sporting cost is not. Hamilton arrived in Belgium with that frustration already behind him. Austria had brought public concern. Silverstone had brought setup criticism. The false start had brought another penalty. The comparison with Leclerc was growing. The championship pressure was increasing. Then Ferrari added a procedural fine before the Belgian race had even started. One more distraction. One more small failure. But the opening lap turned the pressure into something much larger. Hamilton became involved in contact with George Russell as the cars accelerated toward the Kemmel Straight. Russell was sent into the gravel. His race ended. Hamilton continued. The stewards judged Hamilton wholly responsible. That wording was severe. It left little doubt about who they believed had caused the incident. The standard punishment could have been 10 seconds. Instead, Hamilton received 5. The stewards considered the reduced grip and the compressed conditions of the opening lap. That reduction helped his final result. It did not remove the responsibility. And for Hamilton, the collision carried another emotional layer. Russell was not simply another rival. He was Hamilton's former teammate. They had shared the Mercedes garage. Russell had spent years racing beside one of the most successful drivers in Formula One history. Now their Belgian Grand Prix became connected through contact. Russell was out. Hamilton was penalized. And Ferrari's afternoon was damaged before the field had fully settled. That could have destroyed Hamilton's race. Instead, the changing conditions pulled Ferrari back into the fight. Virtual safety car periods opened strategic opportunities. The field compressed. Pit windows changed. And Ferrari made an aggressive decision. During the second virtual safety car, the team brought Leclerc and Hamilton into the pits together. A double stack. That means the first Ferrari arrives. The tires are changed. The car leaves. Then the second Ferrari enters almost immediately. There's almost no time to reset. Every mechanic must know exactly where to move. Every tire must be ready. Every wheel gun must work. Every signal must arrive at the correct moment. When a double stack works, it can transform the race. Both drivers benefit from the same interruption. The team protects track position. Rivals may lose the opportunity to respond. And for a brief moment, Ferrari's decision looked brilliant. Leclerc moved into the effective lead ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Hamilton remained close enough to collect major points despite the penalty. The team had created an opportunity. Then the pit stop became dangerous. As Hamilton left the box, his Ferrari struck one of the team's own mechanics. His radio message was immediate. He said he could not turn the car. That short sentence revealed what the situation felt like from inside the cockpit. Hamilton had been released. The space was restricted. A mechanic remained dangerously close, and the driver believed he did not have enough steering room to avoid the contact. The emotional tone of Ferrari's race changed instantly. A slow stop is frustrating. A lost position is costly. A mechanic being struck is frightening. Pit crews work centimeters from moving cars. They stand beside exposed wheels. They trust the release system. They trust the signals. They trust every person around them to complete the sequence correctly. When one part of that sequence fails, the danger becomes immediate. Ferrari then faced a post-race investigation for an unsafe release. And this is where Hamilton's admission becomes impossible to ignore. The engine had improved. The strategy had created an opportunity. The car had enough pace to remain near the front. But execution had failed again. One part of Ferrari moved forward. Another part pulled the team backward. That was the real reason Belgium hurt so much. Ferrari was not hopelessly slow. If the car had lacked performance completely, the team could have accepted the result and focused on development. But the car had enough speed to fight. That means every operational mistake became more expensive. When a slow car makes a bad pit stop, the final position may barely change. When a competitive car makes a bad pit stop, the mistake can destroy a podium. When a midfield driver receives 5 seconds, the penalty may cost 1 place. When a championship contender receives 5 seconds, it can change the title fight. Ferrari had reached the point where its errors mattered more because the underlying performance was improving. And Hamilton's response captured that contradiction perfectly. He praised Ferrari's work. He said the team had taken a step with the engine. Then he added the crucial detail. It was not the whole step. Only 1 step forward. That was not celebration. It was pressure delivered calmly. Hamilton was telling Ferrari that the engine department had produced something valuable. But the complete team had not yet reached the required level. A better engine could not undo the contact with Russell. A better engine could not remove the 5-second penalty. A better engine could not return the tires on time after practice. A better engine could not guarantee a safe pit release. Performance had improved. The operation around that performance had not improved enough. And Formula One does not reward incomplete teams. A fast team can create lap time. A championship team converts that lap time into points repeatedly under pressure. Hamilton understands that difference better than almost anyone. He spent years inside Mercedes when the organization operated with ruthless consistency. The car was fast. The pit stops were controlled. The strategy was usually clear. The reliability was strong. And when one area had a problem, another often compensated. That experience created the standard Hamilton now carries into Ferrari. He does not judge the team only by whether the car can reach the podium. He judges it by whether the entire organization behaves like a championship-winning machine.